I'm going to be honest about something. When thinking about a prepared piano, I used to brush it off as a sort of gimmicky technique. I first learned about it in school, in a classroom setting, in sort of a detached manner, and so it was easy for me to quickly forget about it and never look further into it other than being only vaguely familiar with the whole idea. I also didn't like the idea of tampering with the piano using outside objects, but the reality was I never really had the opportunity to see or hear a prepared piano up close to really know what it's all about. It sounds so cool.
It's super cool. The high ones are cool because you hear like a chord.
So you can... Fast forward to now, I'm extremely into this. I'm excited about learning more about it, using it more in my own writing, and it's really inspiring me at the moment. This all started when I took an interest in learning some music by John Cage, in particular his sonatas and interludes. For this video, I'd like to do a quick rundown on the basics of preparing a piano with the very great Damon, who helped me prepare a piano using John Cage's instructions for his sonatas and interludes. First of all, what exactly is a prepared piano? It's the temporary alteration of a piano done by placing objects such as screws, wood, or rubber between the strings to create unique tones and percussion-like sounds.
For art's sake.
That sounds about right. It's important to note that when done properly, it does not damage or leave any mark on a piano. In other words, after preparing and de-preparing a piano using the right techniques to do so, a piano should remain in the exact same condition without any changes or marks left behind. John Cage was actually not the first to alter a piano from the inside. Composers such as Henry Cowell began experimenting with this before him, but John Cage was the first to create and make use of such an extensive setup using a wide variety of objects placed in between the strings. And in doing so, he was a pioneer of the prepared piano technique as we're familiar with it today. He first came up with the idea when accompanying a group of dancers at the Corner School in Seattle. He wanted to use a percussion ensemble for a specific occasion, but he was limited to use only one piano because of the lack of space. In Cage's own words, "I spent a day or so conscientiously trying to find an African 12-tone row. I had no luck. I decided that what was wrong was not me, but the piano. I decided to change it." I was delighted to notice that by means of a single preparation, two different sounds could be produced. One was resonant, the other was quiet and muted. The quiet one was heard whenever the soft pedal was used. Now here are Cage's instructions. He gives us a pitch, a description of the object or objects used, and the guidelines for where to place them along the strings.
We have a furniture bolt and two nuts between the second and third string. And two nuts and also between the second and third string.
These are just wood screws.
Wood screws.
Yeah, action screws. So they'll rattle a little bit. Straps.
I think these are technically machine screws.
Machine screws.
Yeah.
I learned that it's very, very important to use a mute to widen the strings before placing any object in between them so that you're not rubbing against any part of the string. Also, to protect the damper felt, the sustain pedal should be pressed down so that the dampers are lifted up before widening the strings.
Damper pedal. Wedge. Ooh. Damper pedal. Wedge. Screw.
If you're thinking of trying this at home or at school or on someone else's piano, please consult a piano technician before you do that. Do your research, be thorough, and be careful, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can really damage a piano. mute?
It's gonna mute it, yeah.
Yeah, oh. And of course, before handling any part of the piano, your hands must be washed because there are oils on your skin that can damage the strings.
I'm trying not to touch the strings with my fingers either, because
Oil.
it'll rust the strings, and it takes a while, but.
So after the piano was prepared, I only had a limited number of hours to play around with it, but I did manage to record a few short improvisations while exploring the types of sounds I can get out of this setup. Eventually, I'd like to turn these into longer length compositions now that I've had this experience. Now lastly, I'd like to leave you all with a quote from John Cage that I really like. When I first placed objects between piano strings, it was with the desire to possess sounds, to be able to repeat them. But as the music left my home and went from piano to piano, and from pianist to pianist, it became clear that not only are two pianists essentially different from one another, but two pianos are not the same either. Instead of the possibility of repetition, we are faced in life with the unique qualities and characteristics of each occasion. The prepared piano, impressions I had from the work of artist friends, study of Zen Buddhism, ramblings in fields and forests of mushrooms, all led me to the enjoyment of things as they come, as they happen, rather than as they are possessed or kept or forced to be. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Wow. Okay, see. Fun.